Thank you for joining me, I'm TheMonk, and today we're going to be doing a review for The Ascent. The Ascent is a cyberpunk themed action RPG. The mega corporation that owns you and everyone, the Ascent Group, have just collapsed. The question you have to answer is, can you survive without it? Now, this game has been published by Curve Digital and it's been developed by Neon Giant. It is actually an Xbox exclusive and therefore on Xbox and of course Game Pass on day dot, and it's also available on the PC. If you wanted to buy this game, it would set you back at $19.99. So what actually is the Ascent, and is it actually worth your time? Well, it's a twin stick action RPG. It's fast paced action RPG. It's kind of like it's not quite 3D, it's more a 2.5. Within this game, you basically build up your character. You take on the role of whoever it is that you design, and you go around the world. It is an open world, and you basically complete missions and side missions, and going through battling humans, robots, and aliens as well. This is a cyberpunk themed world, and it's every bit as cyberpunk as you would want. And the world itself is actually pretty big, and it's multi-layered as well. It's not just vast as in you're going to be walking from A to B, but it's very, very vertical as well, which is really interesting to see, and it actually works out great. You are quite often going up in elevators and lifts here and there. You can get tubes from here to there, and of course you can call in a taxi as well. Personally, I wish I found out that you could call a taxi slightly earlier in the game. I was walking around for a long time before I realized that I had missed an early part in the game which explained how to actually call a taxi, but it's a really nice feature within this game. And it's needed too, because although this is on the smaller side, it's incredibly dense and it actually feels a lot bigger than perhaps it actually is. If you was to try and complete this game and speedrun it, it may take you 15 hours. However, just because you can complete this in 15 hours or under doesn't mean it's a small game. Completing it in 15 hours actually means you aren't doing the side missions, and this would be a massive mistake. Part of the good thing about this game is just how lost you can get in the world itself and exploring the side missions, because every side mission is unique. Yes, a lot of the time you are collecting bounties, or you are just taking out another bad guy, but in doing so you will gain access to parts of the world that the main storyline just won't ever put you. What that means is you will be able to find weapons and gear that you will not be finding anywhere else in the game. So if you do miss out those side quests, well, what that means is you're going to be missing out on a lot of juicy gear as well. Now, the combat in this game is challenging. I actually thought this game was going to be far too easy. When I loaded it up, I immediately looked for some kind of a difficulty scaling system where I could, have a look in the options and change it. It didn't appear to be one anywhere in sight, not that I noticed anyway. However, what I did notice was if I did die, and I died a lot, if I did die when I loaded back into it, the world would kind of acknowledge the fact that I'm crap at this game and maybe I need a little bit of help, and the world would actually go easier on me on my next life. Now, this was really interesting. It means that the AI actually learned from you, which I really enjoyed. Now, as I touched on earlier, this is a twin stick shooter. It's incredibly fast paced. Basically, the premise is you have got a gun, you point and shoot. There are different types of weapons within this game. You can do ballistic, explosive, energy, and the different types of weapons that you use will impact differently on the enemies that you're actually going up against. So it's a really good idea to make sure that you have more than one weapon. Now, the Ascent does actually have a cover system as well. You can also shoot low or you can shoot high. There's no real in between. This kind of leads me into my first gripe with this game. When you approach people on stairs, it doesn't quite work. You can't really shoot them, they can't really shoot you. I would honestly just avoid it completely. If an enemy is on the stairs or you are near some stairs, maybe walk away and, allow that battlefield to change in your favor, because honestly, it just doesn't work. Now, usually with cover shooters, and as I mentioned before, this does have a cover shooter element, it's kind of a slow-paced shooting game. That isn't the case with the Ascent. If you do take cover and start a battle, the AI will very quickly know exactly what you're doing, and it will do everything in its power to flank you and swarm you immediately, forcing you out of cover. Now, that doesn't mean that cover doesn't have its benefits. Of course, if you do get cover and shoot high, you are able to shoot the AI without them necessarily being able to hit you. But like I said before, they will try and swarm you. The AI is actually really fast paced in this game and quite clever too, which is quite nice. Now, you can obviously do kiting and you can circle them as well, especially the melee attack guys, the grunt guys. You can kind of get them all chasing each other, which is nice and easy to pick off too. But this game has a lot more than just one enemy type, and you'll be very quickly reminded of that just after a couple of hours within the game. The Ascent is actually a very good RPG, and just like any RPG you would ordinarily play, you expect to be able to build your character, and that's exactly what you can do in this game. As you progress through the game, you earn experience points, you will level up, and then you will be given attribute points to be able to put into your character. Now, you can only ever put 20 attribute points into one slot, say for instance health, to give yourself the extra health, but it's really interesting to see how you will end up building your character by the end of the game. Now, something I like to talk about in all of my reviews is voice acting. I was actually pleasantly surprised that this game has a significant amount of voice acting within the game. Now, every line isn't voice acted. There is a little bit of reading required. However, the main sections that do pop up every now and again, you do get some nice little cutscenes. They are all voice acted. When you come up against somebody who's going to be giving you a quest, they also too are all voice acted, and you're able to actually go through different dialogue options, which is really nice to see, and I love to see that kind of effort, especially in a smaller indie game. Something that's actually a little bit unique about the Ascent, because obviously this game does have loot, there are loot boxes, there are different types of loot for you to collect. It doesn't necessarily have the same loot leveling that most games actually do. We're all very familiar with common, uncommon, rare, and legendary gear, which is put in place in most RPGs today. The Ascent is slightly different in that it doesn't actually have that kind of leveled gear. If you want the good stuff, then you actually have to play to the end of the game or find a few of the secret very decent weapons early on in the game, but you have to find them yourself. You have to actually get to the part where that weapon is, or you're not actually going to be able to get it. There's no RNG for a legendary pistol right at the beginning of the game. You are literally going to have to play until the good bits. This game is also single player, co-op, and couch co-op, and it's up to 4-player online co-op as well, which is really nice to see. I love co-op games, and honestly the Ascent is enjoyable solo and especially with your friends too. So if you've got a squad, then make sure you grab them for this game, because it's going to be one that you actually want to enjoy with your friends too. Honestly think this game would have been perfectly fine as a solo experience, but I'm really happy that they've actually brought in the online co-op multiplayer and the couch co-op as well, because not enough games actually still remember to actually put that in place. Luckily this game does, so if you have got that significant other that maybe you want to play a game with, then maybe this is the one for you. Now, unfortunately, the word cyberpunk at the moment doesn't quite have that shiny sounds that it used to have, especially after, of course, the game that released last year. But I have to say, this is a cyberpunk game that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I would highly recommend it for anyone looking to pick up a RPG. And that's why I'm going to give this game an 8.5. Honestly, I thoroughly enjoyed this game, and with the price and just how well this works, I can't really fault it that much. Now, I'm not going to say that this game is completely faultless. There are a few bugs, especially with the waypoint feature. But honestly, this is a very well put together game, and I think that Neon Giant have to be commended for what they've actually given us. But that's it from me, guys. I'm going to end this review here because, quite honestly, I could talk for another 20 minutes about this game. I enjoyed it that much. But if you've enjoyed this video, then please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, comment your thoughts down below. Is this a game that you're going to be picking up, or is the word cyberpunk kind of putting you off? I can honestly say that this is the cyberpunk game that perhaps I wish came out last year. It is that good. But until next time, guys, take it easy, and I'll catch you later. And of course, for any of you guys that watched to the end of the video, thank you very much for doing so. And don't forget to comment red banana down below, just to confuse all those that didn't watch to the end.